Hill. This is going to be our first crack at making terrain for Warhammer 40K. Now, one of the things I want to do with these videos is use as much free stuff as we possibly can. I'm going to show that there are alternatives to some of the easier methods that I use, although I'm just going to do what's the easiest, simplest thing for me. Now, I'm going to run through the stuff that I actually had to pay for, and then I'll run through some of the free stuff that I have. Now, the first thing I actually had to pay for was some paint. Now, we're going to make some stuff really cheap, really easy. I'm only going to use about $2 worth of paint. Another thing that I have to use is glue, and we'll get into why afterwards. But again, the glue, I might use about 50 cents worth. Now, for the things that I really don't have to pay for, I have an old bowl that I'm going to be using, some measuring cups, something to stir with. Even though I won't necessarily be using a stirrer, I have an egg beater. But we'll get into that and why you may or may not want to use stuff. Some water, something to chop up the packing peanuts, something to cut the cardboard with, some packing peanuts, and something heavy to use to press down the cardboard. Now we're going to get through everything, and like I said, probably have this entire hill, which you might wind up paying $20 to buy a hill through a professional gaming company. We can make for a couple of bucks. So here we go. The first thing that we're going to be working with is we have to cut down the cardboard for, basically we're going to add a base to our mountain. Now, a simple way to do it if you don't have a lot of fancy equipment or whatever is you can just take a razor blade and you can just kind of cut out the cardboard. Now with a razor blade, doing something that a basic circle is relatively easy to do. Now as you can see, cutting with a razor blade is fairly easy. You're going to be able to get round shapes relatively quickly. But something that I found that if you want to have a little bit more of intricate design, a little bit different of a look, something that looks a little bit fancy, a little bit more professional, if I take a jigsaw, I can do the same work in half the time and make it look better. So now, like I said, a little bit fancier, a little bit more realistic, and I can get a lot of looks into it that I just can't do with the razor blade, or at least not easily with the razor blade. And I'll be able to get through the work a lot quicker. Now that we have the basic designs that we wanted, what we're going to do is we're going to take white glue, put it on the underside, you don't want to get too much of it on there, but you want enough that it's definitely going to stick very well. Now, at first it's going to feel like it floats around a little bit, a couple of the corners stick up, but we're going to take care of that in 1 minute. We're going to go ahead and in this case put all the layers on, because it really doesn't matter that much. As long as I kind of have a light coat over most of the piece, that should work. Now the reason why I said I'm really not worried about this floating right now is because this is where we take our heavy object, preferably a flat one, and we're going to put it on there and just let it sit, because it's going to crush everything down and keep everything stable. Now if you really want, you can put one layer on, put some heavy weight on, let it dry. White glue dries pretty fast, and it's going to set pretty pretty easily. Now, before I really start getting into the next steps, I normally give it a day before I really do too much, but for now, we'll go ahead and move this off. I have another piece already ready so that we can start getting into the next thing. So we'll go from here.